Gullah from The Standard. This is, of course, the Chainlink Build edition of DeFi Dialogues, where we dive deep into every one of the projects on the Chainlink Build program. Just like the Standard.io, we are also in this amazing program, and Chainlink are just a wonderful partner. I'd love to introduce to you Stephen from Space and Time. And today we're talking a whole lot of data, a whole lot of blockchains, and how you can stay informed. Coming up. All right, Stephen, welcome to the DeFi Dialogues. How are you?
Good. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, man. My pleasure. Now, when people hear data and they hear, they sort of close their eyes and just go, "Oh, how boring." But I went and had a look over on Spacetime. First of all, great name, love it, fantastic. And the website is just, guys, go check out Spacetime. Is it .io?
Spaceandtime.io. Yep.
.io, spaceandtime.io. It's such a beautiful website. It's such a beautiful experience when you're on there, and you really get an idea of the class. And then when you go into the app, I haven't fully used it yet because I wanted to just first talk with you and get introed and talk to you about it. But some of the videos I've seen, the interface design that you guys have gone with, it's really beautiful. And being in such an aesthetic world, I think it's great that you're taking such a nerdy concept as big data and bringing it into this beautiful world, because we do live in this obsessed with aesthetics world where things just have to look nice before it can be taken seriously.
Yeah, for sure. I'll tell you, myself and the two founders, Nate Holliday and Scott Dykstra, the three of us have worked together for many, many years. We worked at a big data company, which had a great product, right? But they just had terrible UI. And so it was always like the best that 1984 had to offer. Performance was great, right? But like the user experience was just really lacking. And so we came over, started Space and Time. It was like, that was important to us to have it feel like a modern experience, right? It's so we can have great performance. Absolutely. You need that. That's table stakes. But if you're really going to capture the imagination, like you got to have something more than like a box with, a few buttons on it.
Yeah, well, it's interesting if you still go into a bank these days, some banks still have, they've got, flat screens now, but they still emulate the green and black stuff when they're tabbing through their interface, because they just, that's how far back they are. So it's, coming in the DeFi space, we're hoping that we can just relaunch in this beautiful interface and user experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that we'll find that, the explosion of AI nowadays is going to take that even farther, where it's not even, you won't even really have to be tabbing through boxes. You'll just be explaining in natural language what you need. And,
so much better. Can you imagine like the amount of very, very intensely creative people I know that cannot program? And I always think, what a shame, because if they could you imagine the stuff that they come up with? Instead, you've got the inverse, where you get really technically brilliant people that have zero imagination, are very logical based. And so they create, cool things, but it could be a lot cooler. And so the rare products that really are unicorns, and I feel Space and Time is kind of there because you're mixing both aesthetics and usability. But the rare crossover of that Venn diagram of super creative genius can't program for squat, and super programmers that haven't got any imagination, that Venn diagram where it really crosses over, that's where the core is. That's where the beautiful products that really boom are. And I think you guys have found that spot.
We're trying to push that. I mean, it's a great idea, like the Venn diagram. We're trying to push. I mean, AI is helping these two bubbles collide more and more. Right? Like, so in Space and Time, in our web interface, of course, there's ERD diagrams and there's query editors and all this, right? And like, ability, like interfaces to bring your data on chain and do the cryptography, the ZK snark, which we call proof of SQL. It's basically like tamper proofing your database. But we also have in there AI to help facilitate things that maybe not everyone can write SQL, but they want to take advantage of it. So to be able to go in and query out, the liquidity pool, like how liquid is this, is this AMM or this pool?
Yeah.
You could do that with SQL for sure, but it's a lot easier just to ask the question. And again, in this new world of AI, to have, and space-time has done this, right? You can actually just, in our query editor, you can just write natural language. You can just say, hey, show me what the current value of this pool is, and it'll go out and write the query for you.
Oh, it's just amazing. So for those that don't know, they might have experienced something like Dune, that is, again, very on that spectrum of coders, can get in there, and it takes a lot of time. We had to put a lot of resources towards building a dashboard before, finding you guys. We had to put a lot of resources in there, and the development team had to spend, like 3 or 4 days really deep diving and understanding it's a very powerful tool, but the end product doesn't look that nice. So a lot of the users, when they look at that tool, they can, depending on how well you've implemented it, you can get some great data out of it, and it's a nice dashboard interface. But I feel like it would just be so much better if me, as more of the creative managerial side, who is obsessed with trying to get KPIs and growth and let our users know just on that front, to be able to go and start to develop my own dashboard by asking natural language questions to this amazing database that we have across these digital ledger, these distributed ledgers.
Yeah. I mean, we have the idea of a Venn diagram. Spacetime's got a big Venn diagram, right? Because of course we're a data warehouse, so things like Snowflake or Teradata or these kind of big data systems. We also, by the way, have a transactional engine, so we actually have both analytic and transactional things like Postgres, MySQL, right? But we also have this dashboarding capability, which you referred to, which kind of means that, we also have the index data, the blockchain index data. We also have this dashboarding, so you can do really sophisticated visualizations on top of your sophisticated queries, which hopefully were written for you by AI. Today, our AI will write the SQL for you. Remember, we're a data warehouse, so the intention is you're also bringing your own data as well, right? And so, for example, like just to run our own business, I load in a number of data sets into space and time, and I actually use those dashboards to run my business, right? Just like our CRM data or our telemetry data or things like that. And so, but other people, they bring in their data. You can build dashboards. The intention is to have this all wrapped together. So in the future, today you can write SQL with AI, or AI will write it for you. Today, you also, it's kind of a little bit of a hidden feature right now, but it is actually released, where you can ask AI to write a data pipeline for you, and it will write it in Python and actually can deploy it for you.
Okay.
So the intention, you could be like, hey, write me a script that loads in, NASDAQ data on Apple stock, and it knows how to go out and capture this and put it into a table for you. In the future, this is not done yet, but in the future, the idea is that you could then say, write me some SQL, show me the liquidity of a particular pool, and compare that to this Apple data that I loaded in, and build me a dashboard that represents that as a line chart, or as whatever you want to see. And it will actually build all of that, including that dashboard for you.
Amazing. I think, a lot of the time you see data and you can't really see a pattern if you're just looking at numbers. And I've seen this multiple times throughout my career. But as soon as you can visualize that data in a in a drawing, in a graph, you can absolutely start to see patterns and then readjust your KPIs or your business along that scope. And this is why I think what you guys have built is so important, because if anything is complex about the blockchain, once you get past the concepts, the hard thing is actually analyzing the data that you're pulling off chain and being able to see mal incentives, because a lot of what we do in specifically DeFi is having really finely balanced incentive structures so that your protocol works. Specifically, us at the Standard.io, where we run a next generation CDP, collateralized deposition protocol, where people lock up multiple assets and then they borrow against multiple assets as a pool. The value against that, they borrow, they mint a stablecoin at 0% interest. And what we found is, we need a really nice incentive for people to put that stablecoin somewhere so that they don't just go and dump it and crush the price. And that growth to scale needs to happen quite slowly and effectively, where we subsidize or we have a control over how much yield is being generated to basically be able to control the growth. And once you release into sort of escape velocity of popularity, that's when you can sort of let go more and the engine just runs. But in the beginning, specifically, if you are a blockchain based project, having something like space and time, I think, is just absolutely crucial to the success, because you can see problems before they arise.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. And of course, data drives all of this, right? There's not a single piece of I think anyone's business anymore that doesn't touch on data. But I mean, to use your example where you have a DeFi protocol, so it's on chain, but you need to be able to ease in, maybe ease in some additional liquidity or back out because you're trying to hit some target yield. You're trying to hit some risk profile.
Yeah.
To do that in a dynamic, of course, you can't do that in a static way. You have to calculate. You want to be able to calculate that to a fairly fine degree, and you may even want to do that, every 5 minutes or even every request if you're really trying to dial it in. And where space and time can come in and help with that is, of course, we have all this index data. We're around 5 to 10 seconds after block finality, so we're near real time. So we're constantly ingesting all of this data from the chain. Because we're kind of a ZK coprocessor, where we can send data with a ZK proof, which means that we can preserve the trust model, all the way on chain. So your smart contract, someone calls and says, "Hey, I want to take a new position." That smart contract could reach out to space and time, recalculate what that yield or what that risk profile, whatever you need to calculate. You calculate it in real time, push the result back on chain, right? With that cryptographic proof that you can take to a validator and say, "Yep, the query has not been tampered with and the data has not been tampered with. I can exercise this with confidence," right? And then, you really get, that's the whole point of space and time, is to take something on a smart contract with a little bit of compute and a little bit of storage, right? And you start blowing that up too much, it gets ungodly expensive. And take that and be able to cheaply extend it into a big data system where you can now operate on terabytes of data, for years of history in a relatively small amount of time, maybe 10 seconds for a year of history to get some complex answer. And then again, to preserve that trust model back on chain.
Yeah.
So it really, it's from a DeFi perspective, it's really taking what you can do with the smart contract and exploding it into much bigger areas, much bigger compute and storage than you ever had access to before.
Oh, fantastic. And that's really how we get to the end game of what DeFi is all about. And that's removing trust from Wall Street and bringing it on chain to say, okay, there's still obviously trust. I don't believe that there's anything trustless, because we need to trust the smart contracts. We need to trust the wallets. We need to trust all of this complexity. But being able to broaden out to bring some of the great stuff of Web 2 into Web 3, I think is absolutely imperative. So how does Chainlink fit into this in terms of, you guys are in the build program, so is the standard.io. If, do you guys fit beforehand? Are you guys part of the data feeds? So you guys are offering a data feed as well for those, or do you come after the data feed? So we can, take data feeds from Chainlink and pipe them through you guys.
Right. So today, Spacetime, we index everything on chain, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes there's components that are off chain or they're calculated in different ways that like Chainlink does for its price feeds, right? And it's real-time price feeds. So while we would give different components that would allow people to recalculate that, right? We don't do that. It's, we're infrastructure. We allow people to load whatever data they want into space and time. You can choose to tamper-proof it if you want. Not all data in space and time has to be tamper-proof. For example, you can create private encrypted tables that you have no intention of ever sharing outside of your organization. I mentioned earlier, we use space and time to run space and time. So we have CRM data. I have no intention of ever putting that on chain.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But I can do things like have that data and actually store things in our CRM, such as not wallet addresses, but like contract addresses. And then we could say, like, let's go see how this particular, partner of ours is doing. We can help them with, that kind of analysis. But to go back to your original question, Chainlink has been a great partner of ours. We've actually partnered on a number of projects. We're starting another one where we bring the data, they bring the expertise, and we work together to release a new product to the market together. And so, I mean, it's a really good synergy that way, because, like I said, we have no interest in cannibalizing what any of our customers or partners do. We're here to enable, the world of 1 + 1 should equal 3. And so if we all get together and do what we're respectfully good at, then we move everything forward a lot faster.
Yeah. And, it's interesting with these sort of infrastructure plays, it's sometimes very difficult to see because you guys are so visionary. These people that build infrastructure are so visionary. For instance, Chainlink, when they first were talking and they were releasing the white paper, I kind of looked at it. I was like, I don't quite understand, because DeFi hadn't even really launched yet. But the visionaries there were, they could already see that, hey, once these smart contracts comes out, you need a way to oracle this stuff. Like, because if blue sky, if the sky is blue, then do X. If it's cloudy, then do Y. Well, how do you trust where that, if the sky was blue or not? And so that really needed some foresight. And I think it's a similar thing for you guys. When I look at the scope of what's available, I see the use case right now, which is building a cool dashboard so people can keep track of KPIs. But it's so much more. And I think, it'd be interesting what use cases you can see coming up in the future for space and time.
Yeah, there's, I'll give you a few of them, because right now we're at this interesting inflection point, I think, between blockchain and AI. And in Spacetime's obviously heavily invested in both, because we see this as, and you've probably heard this before, again, going back to Venn diagrams. I love my Venn diagrams. You have, on one side, blockchain, it's decentralized, it's trustless, as much as possible. It's transparent. And then on the other side, you have AI, which is typically centralized. There's organizations out there trying to decentralize it, which is great, right?
Which is, funnily enough, coming from Meta. The open source side of it, anyhow.
And there's a whole decentralized AI organization now. Was it DIA? But there's an acknowledgement that if you're really going to have an AI assistant who's going to be like your buddy, and you can talk to them and give them instructions, and they're going to be very personally involved in your day-to-day activities, you may not want that to actually be owned by a corporation.
Oh yeah. Oh
Like
yeah. Very
that's
true.
because they're going to have a level of access, like that little AI buddy is going to have a level of access that has never been seen before, ever. Like even other humans, you're not going to be around other humans enough to give them that amount of data. And of course, AI can just record it all. And so, ooh, that's creepy. I mean, that's where people are like, well, AI is going to be creepy. Well, not if it's actually owned by the community and you are part of that community. Your self ownership of this becomes important, and that's where blockchain can come in and kind of save AI in the same way that blockchain today is. It's complicated. It's a paradigm that's not mainstreamed yet, and AI can help blockchain with that. AI can come in and help help people understand blockchain, because you don't have to deal with the guts of it if AI is able to step in and do that for you. And that's where you get into things like space-time is the SQL engine. It's a data warehouse, but and people have been writing SQL for many decades. But the models and the way that it's represented is still complex, right? It's just a complex idea. And so AI is able to come in and help get people onboarded and understanding that a lot better. At the same time, blockchain can help with the decentralization and the trustlessness and the transparency of what's going on with AI. So I think that if we're lucky, everything kind of melds together. These two Venn diagrams that started very far apart have drifted together, and that's where space and time, we kind of positioned ourselves in the middle and trying to grab both sides and pull.
Yeah, and I think this is where, when we started this conversation about interface design, and I think that's really key to this this side of the aspect of technology, is that if the interface design isn't gorgeous and easy to understand and intuitive, then people, just normies, won't use it, and normies is the vast majority.
Right.
And I think this is what Steve Jobs saw, right? In the computer was the same thing. Computers, extremely complex, didn't even have a screen, with just a bunch of lights on a box. And Steve and Jobs, and in a way Bill Gates as well, saw this process and thought, we've got to make this consumer friendly. And specifically, Steve going out there and saying, I want a computer without an instruction manual. I want it to become so intuitive that people can just open this thing up, press go, and they kind of just know what to do. And how hard back then. Now with AI, it definitely becomes a lot simpler to say, hey, give me an understanding of how much liquidity is in this token on Arbitrum. And you'll see liquidity come and go. You'll see where the AI will start, and then you can say, oh, actually, I would like it a bit more like this or like that. And you have this conversation with your data, which is a weird concept to think about, but it's, once you've experienced it, I think that's when this aha moment happens. And so, yeah, I just want to big props to you guys for building such an interface for that. And no wonder you got some really nice funding come through in the early days to help you create this out, because you've done a stellar job.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And we appreciate that, of course. And like I said, it was always so important to us, because that so much of Web3 is driven by community, right? It's the community, and like Dune. I mean, I think that we have as good a data as Dune. I think our UI is a lot better. I think the graphs you make, but Dune has got a really good community, right? And of course, they've got a number of years head start on us.
Yeah.
But they have this idea of wizards, right, where people can actually make a living. They have a marketplace, and like you go in and engage. You can, I don't know if you make a living writing Dune queries, but people certainly make some side hustle money.
Yeah.
And that's where we need to get to, right? Where and we're positioning it, and we're kind of working towards that. You can go in and get started with, space and time right now. You go out to spaceandtime.io, and you can find click over to the actual UI, or the interface, the web app, DApp, I should call it. But yeah, even now we see a lot of really interesting graphics. I don't really know what the guy's name is. His handle is Biff Buster, but he does really good graphics. He's done a lot of really cool charts. So he's done some liquidity stuff on Sui, and like the graphics that he put together, I didn't like. They looked. I've never done anything that nice. Like I was like, wow, this guy's like figured out how to use our engine to do some really sophisticated stuff, and it looked awesome. And it's like those kind of things that I get excited about when people find creative ways to go in and dig into the data and come up with something that's like both useful but shockingly good looking, right?
Yeah, and you mentioned like with June, there's side hustles and stuff, but all of that stuff is friction. Because I need to then find a developer, I need to explain exactly what I want. They do it. It comes back not quite right, but I've run out of cash for that query or time, and then it's like, oh, okay, I guess that'll do. And this way I can just say, no, that's not quite right, and rejig it in real time. It's phenomenal, and I really like it. In terms of cost, how much does it cost as a user, like to go on there and start to query? Obviously, there's token cost for OpenAI's tokens and stuff like that in there, or do you guys cover that? How does that all work?
We cover all that. So it's really just one cost. We abstract all of the other kind of, all those are our vendors. You don't need to worry about them. So we cover all the OpenAI costs. We cover all the indexing costs. There's no cost. There's no price for indexing. It's all free. You can go in, and there's a usage-based model out there where it's like a pay-per-compute. So if you run a little query, you pay just a little bit. There's actually a page on our docs where we ran a whole bunch of different types of queries and showed what the cost was. Mm-hmm. But it's like anywhere from, 20,000 per dollars, running quick, small queries. I think the biggest one on there we had was like 50 cents, because we took every event from Ethereum, every event from Polygon, every event from Sui, joined them all together in a big mess, right? Yeah. And say, let's see how big we can make it.
Wow.
And it ended up being about 50 cents. But so, I mean, you can do for $10 a month, you can do a lot of damage.
Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of queries.
That's great.
If you're going to use, if you're going to use Space and Time for like a real B2B, right? And you're going to be running millions of queries a day, and you're going to be doing like we also have flat rate fees, right? Which is it's just this much, and then you're good for the whole month. We will be today. We have credits because we haven't dropped a token yet, but that's coming later this year.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. Yeah, and how that works and.
Yeah. So right now, like if you were to go out there and sign up for the price per compute, you'll see it's structured very much like a token. It's not a token. It's like an off-chain token is what it is.
Yeah, yeah.
But
a credit on the system, and yeah,
exactly. And this is our way to take learnings and kind of exercise and kind of iterate on the financials a little bit, so that when we do launch a token, everything is going to be worked out, and solid. I think in May-ish, we're going to be taking other cryptocurrency for payment. So that'll be like the first time that you can do something like pay a smart contract. And the smart contract will burn down the link or the ETH or whatever it is. See, and then towards the end of this year, we'll introduce a Space and Time utility token, which will be, we'll just join the other types of payments that are available. We'll probably, for at least a while, continue all of these different things, because we'll have people we actually have a fair number of Web2 enterprises who pay for us, and they don't know how to deal with crypto payments, right? They just want to do seconds.
Yeah.
But I mean, if it makes perfect sense from their perspective, where, like, let's say you're a large bank and you want to get into digital assets, you want to start exploring, building your strategy, you need data for that strategy.
Yeah.
Rather than start with RPC endpoints and have to ingest data into your data warehouse and all this stuff. We've done all of that work, like 6 months worth of work for them. They can just sign up for a monthly fee, right? And they love it. And so we have a lot of people who do a lot of analytics, in big enterprises. So it's actually been a pretty good segment for us, is that enterprise. So the moral of the story is we'll probably keep that SaaS offering around for a while for them.
Fantastic. Yeah. Very, very good. Stephen, where can people stay in touch with you and what you're building? I'm guessing, spaceandtime.io, but is there an X page or?
There is. Yep. We have an X page, Space and Time DB. We have a Twitter as well, which is I'll just point you to the website because all of this stuff's on the website as well. But yeah, hit us on X, hit us on Discord, hit us on Telegram, or send us an email. We have contact emails on the webpage as well.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for joining us on this day. For those that want to stay in touch with us, we're at thestandard.io with just a quick update. We're starting to now incentivize the liquidation pools. So if you want to go over there and help out, there's some great yield to be earned there. As we're trying to build that out, we're also we've redeployed liquidity over on Rams's decks. So there's some good opportunities to put LP there as we start the relaunch process of the standard following our code audits. So yeah, it's exciting times. Of course, the bull market, those that say price doesn't matter, they're wrong. The bull market stimulates the whole markets, helps startups. People get excited. They VCs start coming back. The retail starts coming back. We start getting users into everything that we've built over the bear market. So it's fantastic. We're all very, very excited. And please come and join us on our Discord if you have any feedback on the show, but also on what we've built. Please let us know, because we rely on the community. We've also got some votes coming up on the different directions and different collateral types we're coming up. We would love to have Space and Time token once you guys launch as a collateral type. So that'll be great as well. So people can borrow against that and not have to sell. Why pay capital gains if you can just borrow? Yeah. So guys, please stay in touch and see you next time.